NBA Ben 10 is currently recovering in a hospital bed, neck brace on, and wounds still fresh. While man accused of putting him there was picked up by federal agents before he could even make it to a Vlad TV interview. Authorities say Allstar Jr., born Jeremy Christopher Ford, was arrested in California after a criminal complaint accused him of being a felon in possession of a firearm. Federal investigators also released surveillance images tied to the April 8th shooting at Confessions restaurant in Houston, images that appear to show him standing over Ben 10 and firing. But in a twist nobody can ignore, Ben 10 went on Instagram from the hospital and insisted that Allstar Jr. has been pushing a fake version of what really happened. That is what makes this story feel bigger than a simple shooting case. On the surface, it looks like a violent incident followed by an arrest. But underneath, that is a fight over who gets to control the story. Ben 10, the person who was actually shot, is refusing to let Allstar Jr. turn the situation into a personal victory lap. Instead of validating any of the online talk, he is calling the entire narrative fiction and hinting that if anyone wants the real story, they are going to have to hear from him directly. That silence, mixed with that one sharp statement, may be the coldest move in this entire saga. To really understand why this has the internet so locked in, you have to know who the major players are. Ben 10, whose government name has not been widely publicized, is known as one of NBA YoungBoy's closest affiliates. He is not some random face on the edge of the circle. He is viewed as somebody deeply tied to YoungBoy's camp, and that comes with a powerful network of loyalty, visibility, and enemies. In rap culture, being attached to that world brings attention from every direction, and sometimes it also paints a target on your back. Then there is Jay Prince Jr., the son of Jay Prince, one of the most legendary and influential figures in hip-hop history through Rap-A-Lot Records. Jay Prince Sr. built a name that still carries major weight, and Jay Prince Jr. has spent years carving out his own identity through mob ties. Reports say he was present at Confessions in Houston the night everything spiraled. Add in Allstar Jr., a 32-year-old Detroit rapper with ties to T Grizzly and a reputation rooted in hard-edged street energy. And suddenly, this was never just one isolated clash. It was a collision of three very different worlds. NBA YoungBoy's camp, the Prince family orbit, and the Detroit scene. The shooting itself happened on April 8, 2026, at Confessions restaurant on Kirby Drive in Houston. Investigators and online watchers are still piecing together exactly what sparked the violence. But the reports that have surfaced point to an alleged chain-snatching attempt that escalated fast. A confrontation reportedly turned physical, gunfire followed, and both Ben 10 and Dead End Ron were left critically wounded. Houston Police Lieutenant R. Wilkins said early on that surveillance footage from the venue would likely be central to the case, and he described a chaotic scene involving multiple people, a struggle over jewelry, and victims suffering multiple gunshot wounds. Where the story takes an even more dramatic turn is in the version Allstar Jr. has allegedly been presenting online. His framing has been that he was the one who got attacked, and that he only acted in self-defense after Ben 10 and others came at him. That distinction matters because it changes the tone of everything that came next. If he could sell the idea that he was merely defending himself, then his taunts, flexes, and challenge posts could be dressed up as the swagger of someone who survived an ambush rather than someone glorifying a violent act. That was clearly the image he was trying to build. Ben 10 shattered that framing when he went public from his hospital bed and accused Allstar Jr. of selling fake acts, dreams, and nightmares. That was not a vague disagreement. That was a direct rejection of the entire story being told in public. Ben 10 was essentially saying this man is not just exaggerating. He is manufacturing a fantasy out of something that nearly cost real lives. That is why the post landed so hard. The person at the center of the violence did not co-sign the mythology. He called it fake. And Allstar Jr. had been feeding that mythology aggressively. According to the online trail, he posted jewelry store photos soon after shooting and captioned them in a way that suggested Ben 10 had taken some of his jewelry to the hospital. He also wrote a line claiming someone thought he was mob ties until he shot him a few times. It was all extraordinarily reckless, especially for someone with a prior record. The trolling escalated even further when he launched what he called the Ben 10 Challenge, allegedly offering $20,000 to whoever could best imitate Ben 10 lying on the ground after being shot. He pushed it while also releasing a diss track titled Mob Untied, targeting both Ben 10 and Jay Prince Jr., and promoting music around the same time, as if the whole ordeal was part of a rollout. That is the part Ben 10 seems unwilling to reward. Allstar Jr. did not just mock him. He tried to turn himself into a legend off the back of the incident. He wanted the internet to see him as the man who stood up to an NBA Youngboy affiliate, walked away untouched, replaced his jewelry, dropped a diss record, and kept the pressure on everybody involved. But Ben 10 has refused to hand him that image. Instead, Ben chose a very different tone. In one of his posts, he made it clear that getting shot was not going to shake him, that life support was never an option, and that his faith was bigger than the situation. He did not feed the taunts. He did not jump into a back and forth. He just reminded people that he was still here. Even in private, the same pattern seemed to hold. When leaked DMs between the two surfaced, it appeared Ben 10 was still disputing the details Allstar Jr. was spreading, including claims about how badly he had been hit. Allstar Jr. seemed determined to keep the situation in performance mode, constantly redirecting toward a challenge and the internet spectacle, while Ben 10 reportedly pushed back on the facts themselves. That matters because it shows the public call-out was not just for show. Ben 10 was consistently rejecting the story behind the scenes, too. He was not going to let somebody else write the script for what happened to him. Then came the federal arrest, which turned the entire saga into something even more serious. Reports say Allstar Jr. was on his way to sit down with Vlad TV in California when federal agents arrested him. That detail alone sent social media into overdrive because of the long-running joke that trouble seems to follow certain Vlad TV interviews. There is no verified proof of any connection between the platform and law enforcement, but the timing was enough to ignite the memes instantly. Still, the bigger point is not the interview destination. It is what the government says it already has. According to DJ Academics, federal authorities obtained surveillance photos from inside confessions that appeared to show Jeremy Christopher Ford standing over Ben 10 with a firearm. The criminal complaint charges him as a felon in possession of a firearm tied to the April 8th incident in the Southern District of Texas. Even if that is not yet a direct shooting charge, it is still a major federal case. When you combine surveillance footage with boastful Instagram captions, leaked DMs, taunting videos, and a diss track campaign, you end up with a mountain of self-created evidence. In trying to look untouchable online, he may have made himself incredibly easy to prosecute. That is why Ben 10's refusal to give credit feels so strategic. Allstar Jr.'s entire post-shooting persona depended on people believing he had done exactly what he claimed and exactly how he claimed it. Ben 10 disrupted that by saying the story was fake, while also keeping his own full account close to the chest. That creates leverage. He has the counter-narrative, and he knows it. By refusing to validate the performance, he strips Allstar Jr. the payoff he seemed desperate for. Ben 10 does not need to argue every detail in public when the person pushing the loudest narrative is now sitting in federal custody. Jay Prince Jr.'s presence adds yet another layer of tension. Allstar Jr. publicly accused him of fleeing the scene and tried to frame him as weak, a bold move considering the weight the Prince name carries in Houston and in rap history overall. Jay Prince Jr., however, responded with calm denials, saying he would never harm a child and urging people to tell the truth, while wishing the victims a speedy recovery. Compared to the chaos of Allstar Jr.'s online behavior, that response felt measured and calculated. One side looked like it was chasing clout. The other looked like it was protecting a name. Meanwhile, the larger ecosystem around Ben 10 cannot be ignored. Anyone tied to NBA Youngboy's world is connected to one of the most fiercely loyal fan bases in hip-hop. When you publicly taunt someone from that universe, you are not just antagonizing one person. You are stepping into a much wider conflict with legal, personal, and cultural consequences. Allstar Jr. acted like he was ready for all that smoke, but the arrest suggests otherwise. The digital bravado moved much faster than the real-world consequences. So now the scoreboard looks very different. Allstar Jr. is in federal custody facing a serious gun-related charge, with surveillance images and his own social media trail looming over the case. Ben 10 is still healing, still posting from recovery, and still saying the story being sold is bogus. Jay Prince Jr. remained standing with his name publicly intact. And the material Allstar Jr. may have hoped would boost his profile, from Mob Untied to the posts and challenge videos, could now be looked at in court as evidence of mindset and involvement. He thought he was building a legend. Instead, he may have built the prosecution's timeline. Zoom out. And this whole case is a lot about the era rap is living in right now. Too many people are treating social media like an extension of the streets, as if online performance carries the same meaning as actual credibility. But the internet is not just an audience anymore. It is also an archive. Every caption, every song lyric, every DM leak, every challenge post can become a receipt. Real-life violence plus digital self-promotion is a dangerous combination, and this situation is a brutal example of how fast that can backfire. At the center of it all is the one thing Allstar Jr. never got from Ben 10, validation. Ben 10 did not give him public respect. He did not give him a dramatic back and forth. He did not confirm the story. He did not let himself become the trophy in someone else's mythology. Instead, he called the story fake, kept his full version in reserve, and let the legal system start doing the talking. That quiet refusal may end up being the most powerful move anyone made in this whole mess. For now, this story is far from finished. Ben 10 is alive and recovering. Allstar Jr. is fighting a federal case. Prince Jr. has denied the accusations tied to his name. The internet has already saved every post, every caption, and every screenshot. And somewhere in the middle of all of this is the real truth about what happened inside confessions that night. Until more comes out, one thing is clear. Ben 10 is not letting anybody else define what happened to him. And Allstar Jr.'s loud online campaign may have ended up writing a very different ending than the one he imagined.